Can you hear Mick?
Hey, I can hear you guys. Good to see
Cool.
you.
We're talking about artistic penis pics.
Wow. And you're also using a grip strength thing as you speak.
Click it, click it, click it. You gotta have strong forearms, you know. Riley's been busy with a lot of artwork. I gotta fill the time. I'm totally not
Oh,
editing that out.
I'm glad that I was prepared for that. That was written into this as like the first topic. I'm glad you warned me.
Welcome to the OFX podcast.
Welcome. Good to be back.
I'm Dave Claxton. Along with me is our podium pursuing podcast partner, Bethany McChesney.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. And our Red Deer running rebel, Mick Girello, who we don't interview anymore because it's just Mick.
Yeah.
So what do you guys want to start with? We start with Red Deer or DEKA? Because that's what we're doing. And grip strength thingies. Clicking.
You guys, you guys can go through DEKA. I'm curious.
Okay. All right, cool. But I have become obsessed with these little things. They're almost like art to me. It's the Iron Mind. They're the really proper ones. And the big one, I think only 4 people in the world have closed.
Oh,
and
really?
The whole thing. I'm nowhere near it, but I'm like, what?
I used to keep
like
one
a
of those
fidget
in
spinner.
my car.
I keep one in my car too.
Because you love driving. It's like actually good grip training. I get those like
Mick is making glitchy noises because he's not in his kitchen. Sorry, are you back?
I am in a hotel here in Canmore, so if the Wi-Fi is a little it might. Don't blame me.
Okay, it went, but
Yeah.
You're back in. And so
Okay.
what you said you had him had one in your car.
I did, yeah. They have these like ones that look like rubber donuts too, so you can kind of like, yeah. I
But
have those ones.
They're not as good though.
I don't think so.
No, I don't know. They don't feel right. And then I also have the one for the extending of the fingers, which is essentially just a rubber band.
Yeah.
And in case you're ever wondering, the rubber band to get is the one around the broccoli in the grocery store. That's a really good substitute, but I paid money for the one that says Iron Mind on it just because I'm a schmuck. And it's good. I sit in the car and I'm like crank those out and then do the extenders and as I commute to work. And that's what grip training is, driving to work and hitting those things. Anyway, yeah, I'm good with starting with DEKA. One
Okay.
more thing though. So I'm having an athletic brew light. And
There were
after
some at the finish line this weekend. I
yeah,
had to try one, and I only tried one because I saw your ad, Dave. That's it. That's the only reason.
So
I was going to reenact it.
so you know what? Obviously, a lot of people laughed at that. It was really good. And do you know what Athletic Brew said to me?
What?
Fuck all, nothing.
We'll
Didn't
send
hear a
you
word,
more?
not even a like.
Oh, really? I thought maybe.
I thought for sure I'd get at least something, at least a laugh, but nothing.
Yeah.
Not a damn
Wow.
thing.
They should have just been like, we'll send you 2 cases, and if you just do something funny with each can.
Yeah.
Mhm. And I have a lot of other great ideas, but anyway. Not for free, right? Like the Joker
Might have
said
to
in
wait.
Batman. If you're good at something, never do it for free.
Be
Which
patient.
is
Be
why
patient.
I do this, because I'm not very good at this. All right, DEKA. Beth. You gonna win? What's the deal?
Am I gonna win? I don't know. There's still a lot of unknowns with it for me. I've never touched the tank. I haven't been on a bike in a couple months, like the assault bike, but we've been doing our best to simulate it. I'm pretty excited though. Like training's been going really well for this, so we'll see. I did 2 simulations recently, so not exactly simulations, like there was a bit of more running in between it, but yeah, it went well. It's gonna be tough. Like this is fast and furious and like just lactic acid from the beginning.
So I was looking at first when I first saw the list of women, and it wasn't looking as deep as it's become. Oh, Mick's camera's off. Mick's back, but that's okay. It wasn't looking as deep as it's become. So I mean, if we are, I'll take a quick look here because I had it called up and then technical issues. But who we got here? We got So it has Tara Jackson on it, but Tara Jackson would told me she's not going. But then she found a cheap flight, so she might go. But
Oh,
I don't know. I would say 50-50 at best. Probably no Tara Jackson. Morgan Schultz coming back off injury, but Morgan's always
yeah.
fast. One that nobody's, I don't know if they're talking Vivian Tefudo,
Mhm.
and she was neck and neck with Tara and Chris Roglowski, Chris
Yeah.
earlier in the year. So she's just one to watch out for. But another one too, I haven't heard anyone mention is Camilla Massa is on the list. And she was almost top 15 in High Rocks, I believe.
Okay.
So she's definitely a threat. So
And then this would be Ashley Heller's debut DEKA also.
yeah, and we all know Ashley's a substantial athlete, so you're not going to have an easy day.
Yep.
I don't know.
That's okay. Well, I think we'll just pull each other along. I think the goal ultimately is to get one of those top 12 spots. So you're just kind of running for fast times.
And do you know the time you need?
Not exactly, because the list I saw wasn't updated.
No, well, let's see what they currently have. Oh, those are men. But if you beat those times, I think you'll get in. It is so for number 12, they have Alicia Moser, 38:15.
Okay. Yeah, that's fast.
That is quick.
Mhm.
So I don't know, but I've been going through my sims because Mick's been telling me to do some good stuff. And actually today's workout was a great workout for me too. It was kind of the perfect
Which one did
workout
you
at the
do?
perfect time. I don't know. You didn't say it, so I just did my own thing. No, no, it was what's it called? It was some leg work, some simple leg work, and then some 50 seconds on, 10 seconds off, in between, that kind of stuff. So it was really good. Just kept it light and simple considering knees coming back and stuff like that. But what I have noticed, and that's gone well, and I have a bike luckily, so I've been practicing a lot on that because this seems, and I don't know about you, but through the week I have been watching nonstop DEKA streams from the other ones, right? Just one, to see how things go and to analyze the race, and two, because I'm going to do the live stream, I don't want to fuck it up, and I want to see things that people have done that I liked and things that they didn't like. So much from what I see comes down to the bike. Like the bike is huge. And it seems like the first 4 stations, even when I did the DEKA Strong, was like this first 4 stations, you just kind of coast through, right? You maybe lose 3 seconds here or gain 2 seconds there or whatever. It's not that big a deal. But then when you hit the skier, it starts to matter more. And then when you hit that bike, I'm seeing times anywhere from Ryan Kent doing things in like 50 seconds for 25 cal to other people taking like 2.5 minutes.
Wow.
So it's just a big thing, that bike, and then how you come off the bike into that next run is really important. So that's where I think the DEKAs are really won and lost, is on that bike, which of course is the thing you don't have.
I did have one up until about 2 months ago.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, it's not like it's a foreign thing to you.
Yeah, and I cycle all the time, so I'm not super worried about it. But
and then the tank, like we talked about it before, it's just kind of weird. And I think if you start to break it down, like what I would be doing if I was you, is I would, because it seems like anything under 2.5 minutes seems good on the tank. So I would just be like timing, sub 15 seconds per 10 meters. So sub 15 out, sub 15 back, that kind of thing, and going like that. And, maybe having someone on the side just watching the clock for you to tell you if you're slow or fast, to speed up. Because when I did it first time, it's awkward, and I didn't know, am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? I have no idea, because I didn't know what to compare it to.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do. That said, eliminating yourself with these women you see going, who do you think is legit? Like, who do you think is a big threat?
Well, if Tara Jackson goes, I think she's probably vying for a win in this one. From the list of girls that I saw on the leaderboard, she has the fastest time of the girls going. And then Vivian was in the top 12 last year. I've never raced her. I don't know who she is. So then I think Ashley Heller also, again, she's a former track runner. So I think the flat and fast 500s are probably going to suit her quite well. I don't know anything about her training. I don't really stalk people like that on social media. So yeah, other than that, I don't know the other girls going.
We think, well, obviously Tara I think has won 3 of them.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and
Even just experience there, a lot of us don't have that kind of experience. And she has high rocks training and DEKA events. So that makes a pretty big difference.
yeah, and that's where I think for you, Morgan, Ashley, and Camilla, I think this is all of your first ones.
Okay.
And that will be, I think, different. Whereas, like you say, Vivian has some experience and Tara, if she goes, but like again, Tara's 50-50 at best. I'm more saying this to try to coax Tara to go. I've even told her she can sleep on your floor in your room. So it is, we'll see if she goes or not. But anyway, so Mick, I'm gonna tell you about some of the guys that should be there. All right, because I'm sure you've raced some of these guys on the OCR course. So we have Glenn Race. Don't know if you've ever been up against him, and Nick Riker, Ryan Kent, and Rich Ryan will be probably the guys headlining it there.
That'll be it's always fun when there's more than 2, right?
Yeah.
Because you can play off of like some other athlete's strengths and weaknesses as well. If it's just 2, then you're kind of caught up. Obviously there's going to be other athletes there, but it's nice that there's some guys there that are going to show up fit. So look out for Nick Riker. I think he's had this one on his schedule.
Yeah, he's been posting a lot about it, but scarily so is Ryan Kent.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And he's just like, I looked at his splits. Oh my god, where was it? I'm gonna try to
Didn't
find
him and Rich do like a bit of a sim?
Yeah, I didn't get the splits for that one, but they were insane. But here Ryan Kent DEKA mile splits. So this wasn't for the 500 meters, right? This was for 160 between. So for the lunges, he was 30 seconds. For the row, he was a minute 39. For the box jumps, he was 28 seconds. Sit-ups 36. Ski 147. Farmer carry 49 seconds. Assault bike 40 seconds. 25 cals on the assault bike in 40 seconds. I don't know.
This is a DEKA strong?
This is a DEKA mile.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that bike was out of calibration or like Kent may very well just be that good, but that is insanity. The ball over the shoulder, 56 seconds. And here's what I can say about the tank. Even Ryan Kent, 215.
Okay.
So if you're catching anything under 230, I think it's really good.
That's a long station in comparison.
It is. And then the Ram burpees 101, which is really fast for those Ram burpees. So it says here, not including total was 1042, not including transitions. And then his mile, the mile and the transitions were another 706. That's nuts fast. And then,
I wish I had completed one of these just to kind of like have an idea, compare it. Like I haven't done one of these, so it's hard to really understand how good those are. But I mean, I've done a few of those. I can kind of understand where they're at. But yeah,
if you jump on the rower or the bike or whatever, you can check those out. And really, how far is Chicago for you, Mick? Like, just get in the car. Let's go.
I mean, I'm a little further west now.
It's if you were in Winnipeg, how far is Chicago from Winnipeg?
Not that far. Like
it's probably closer than us.
I'd say it's about the same actually.
Yeah, but we're about what,
maybe
8.5 hours, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's might be 10 for me.
There you go. It's a good spot. You can do it. But I look at that and it just shows me how fast it can be. But the big thing I take away from his thing, like I said, is the tank. No matter how good you are, it only seems to go so fast.
Right.
And it seems like that 2:30 to 2 minutes, that depending on the day, that's where you want to be. So yeah, but the bike,
Well, I'm
when I
not
did
doing a 40-second bike, that's for sure.
no, when I did mine, I was like 150 on the bike. And
Yeah.
at that particular DEKA Strong, I was the fastest bike. So I'm like, for me, like I'll be aiming for like, and I know I could go faster. So I'll be aiming for something like a 130, maybe a 140, right? Between 130, 145 kind of thing. And I know I thought that would be pretty good. Then I see his 40. I'm like, oh, it's only like a minute faster. Well, like half the time. But yeah, it should be a good race. Him and Rich, I think, are gonna have a killer race. But if I was to place bet, it would be on Ken. I think right now he's just not touchable. However,
Are they going to have a live feed?
yes, I'm gonna do the live feed.
Oh, perfect. Okay. We can rely on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Good.
Just
Awesome.
be me on my own. Well, I think we're gonna go into YouTube. I've been doing lots of tests and got some things worked out, some bugs that I was confused about that almost got me. So I wouldn't do the YouTube one, but now we're think to have it
Cool.
straightened out. Yeah, but I expect a great battle between Rich and Ryan. And I like I said though, I think Ryan can't. But I was gonna say, did you two happen to see Rylan Shadeg's recent
Yes,
post?
I did. Yeah.
No.
Just a couple seconds off Brian Kent's record.
Yeah, for the DEKA mile, 1 second.
Oh, just 1 second.
It was one or 2 seconds off for the DEKA mile, and he set like the second or third fastest ever DEKA Strong. And these were his first shots at it. And still, same thing, smash the bike, and he has a biking background, right? So
Yeah.
really seems big.
Cool.
Which I don't know, in my mind might be a bit of a flaw in the system.
What's the flaw?
Well, there's so many machines,
Yeah.
and it's hard. So like when we were out at RX1, there was definitively one bike that was not calibrated properly.
Mhm.
Right.
And I was seeing Riley fell victim to it, and another guy I knew I saw. They were pretty like the pack. It was the first thing on there. You do like a 10-meter run on the bike for I believe it was 35 calories. And this one bike always seemed to be like almost a minute behind everybody else.
Oh, wow.
And I told him, like, you gotta take that out of commission or fix it or something, because it's clearly so. That's what I mean. I have trouble with the machines, and if I was ever designing one of these courses, I would steer clear of having machines in it, because it's just, I don't know, it's just an extra variable I think you don't need.
Right.
So when someone gives me lots of money to design a course, it will not have the machines in it. Nor will it have ring rows. Same reason. Better stuff. So we're all ready for that. We're good to go.
Good.
Mick, you had a pretty good weekend, and you were just saying that sometimes it's not as good when it's just you and one other guy, but it kind of seemed like it was just you and one other guy.
Well, I mean, it was funny. Like the elite heat was pretty small, but that's kind of unusual now, especially because it was part of the age group series in Canada. So even people like Isaac and stuff like raced age group for the super the day before just to do it. So there was lots of hype around that, but there was kind of a solid group. It was almost like Brendan and I were a little bit ahead of people, but then there was like 3 to 8 were just all over the place. It was awesome. So there's some good guys out there. There were a couple guys we weren't expecting from like from Singapore and like Beijing. Like one of the guys, Cody, he actually is from Red Deer, and he's been living out there, working and going to school and everything, and he's been doing the circuit out there. And his buddy Han, who they like basically kind of team against each other to podium out there all the time. So there's just these 2 random guys that were at the start line that no one really knew, but they were like eager to come race, and really fit guys. And yeah, so it was nice to throw them in the mix. They'd race both days.
Nice. So
yeah,
go ahead, Beth.
Yeah, I love it when you see new faces though, like, and to kind of get in the mix. So and any day, especially with OCR, it could be anybody's day. There's so many variables, so you never know.
Exactly.
So you said this course was one of the best ones they put on there, and like Red Deer, I bet you for a lot of people looking from the outside in, it's like, okay, here's just a, you know, boring flat course. But there's something about it that they just put it together well. Like when we were out there last year, I'm like, this is just a cool, fun course. Like
It is, yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's fast, and I like.
Didn't you watch our nice course preview?
I did watch it. You like celebrity, you and Bear.
I thought it was pretty fun. We had fun with it. But yeah, the trails are actually really fun, and I'm glad they switched it up. Like in general, they just took basically the giant field out of it. Instead of doing like loops back and forth on that field, they just kept us in the trails. And what ended up having it being is just run a ton of single track, and then basically they would just have tape through kind of the dividing bush from the trail to that field, and then they'd have a few obstacles there. You go, so you'd kind of like bushwhack, which is also kind of nice to get back to like kind of that raw Spartan running every once in a while, where it's like who can run just the most random terrain for a while. But it wasn't so long. It was kind of like, 10, 20 meters, and then we'd pop out, do a wall, and then right back into the trail and run the trail for another K. So it was really good. The 10K was, it was really set up like that. And it was nice because instead of having all the obstacles kind of in that festival area, there was still a bunch there, but there were also these like little pockets of 3 or 4 in certain areas, and like they put Twister and Beater together, and they put Dunk Wall and Helix right beside, like, so you're getting onto Helix soaking wet, and they put basically right in a row like Bender, Box, Olympus right after each other. So yeah, it was like I felt like it was a course that actually would test you if you were running really hard in between things. The obstacles still had to be strategized around, which is not always the case. Sometimes it's just like, if you make it through the gauntlet, then it's just whoever can run it, and it was a lot of open field running, whereas this was like a lot of kind of single track. So yeah, it was great. And I guess because of all the rain and everything, like everything was pretty grown in. So first couple of people through were running through some pretty like covered up single track. So yeah, second day was much easier.
Yeah. How many slimy branches did you take to the face?
Quite a few. a lot at the knees and stuff, like a lot of those kind of things. We all got out, and even the barbed wire was like the grass and thistles were up above the barbed wire. So we all got out and we kind of finished, and everyone's just got like these crosshatch marks all over their back and everything. But aside from that, it was a pretty, like, there was a few down trees, and that's always fun. Like when you're running and there's just those natural obstacles where you got to vault over, you can still kind of like keep a rhythm to it. And some people have to stop and jump over or climb over. So yeah, there's tons of that. It's good.
The one thing at Red Deer too, I noticed when we were there and I saw some of the stories, you got to jump over a lot of fences.
Yeah.
Which is cool as long as they mark it right. Cause I've seen so many people walk up the fence and then be like, where do I go? Where do I go? Where do I go?
Right. Yeah. There was basically like a giant red arrow at everyone, and the tape was on either side of it. So if you don't know you have to go over it, I don't know, you're not understanding. But yeah, it was really good. The finish was different. Like they didn't put that slip ramp to that now aluminum ladder down, and everyone finishes basically because there's no way you can get down that aluminum ladder on the other side of the slip wall fast. So you kind of get down that, and then you jog over the fire jump, and you're like, oh, I'm not actually that tired, or you didn't feel like you ran in. This time it was like perk hoist, hit the cargo, and then you had a little bit of like a vault over a fence, and they had that like inverted wall. You flipped over that, then ran to the finish. It was pretty cool. So totally different. Like it was as if a new race director came in and was like, didn't know what the courses were like previous years, and just, it was like a fresh eye. But it's just, we know that it's not Bear's first rodeo. So we were happy that he just switched it up.
But it is his first year of race director though, right? Before
True.
build crew. So I mean, maybe
True.
he's been like storing these ideas in his head, and he's finally like, all right, I'm this is my shot to build the one I want to build.
Yeah,
and go from there.
True.
So
yeah, you're right.
So the super looked like to me, and I mean, I'm just catching the live, the live tracking, which isn't very live, and then the stories that Fidel put out, and he did a great job on the stories. It looked like, what was it? Was it the super where you missed your spear? Yeah, the super, you missed your spear.
Yeah.
And Brennan had a good shot there.
He did. Yeah, he did. And it was one of those, I was like, part of me from last year, I was like, finally I catch like a little bit of a break the other way. It would have been, I mean, Brendan was running really well. Obviously he's had great like finishes already this year, lots of podiums. He's running well. And I had about a minute gap. That was also nice. The spear was basically in the middle of the race.
Mm-hmm.
So it was nice. And they put it right after a sandbag carry. So you put the sandbag down and you're already in the spear throw area. So something different. And I don't know what happened. I just threw it a little left, and you made it. You let me know it was a weird throw, and you let me know it was
bizarre technique. Have you seen
closer than you thought it was supposed to be?
He's way back here. He's arched out. I don't know what he's doing.
That's how the ancient Spartans threw javelins back in the day.
They threw them for like way far. This is like 20.
Listen,
you just whip that sucker.
Dave, look at. I think this was like my 40th Spartan,
mm-hmm.
and I've missed now 3 spears.
Okay, that's one way to look at. But I look at it as you've missed the last 2.
Right? Yeah. That's true. Anyways, it was a bad throw. It just was bad throw. Sometimes like I looked at my target and the top of them, they're the 3 sections of those block things. And we saw like in Mexico, when some of those guys were throwing, they would hit the block and it would twist. And I picked up the spear and I looked at the target, and my top block was already kind of twisted. And I just had that. You never want to second guess your choice, but I looked up at it and I was like, ooh, that's a little bit of a sketchy target. And not that I threw it any different, but when you're like, should I switch spears or should I just toss it? Anyways, and just missed left. And then Brendan, I was about a minute ahead or a little less than that. And so he came up and I was like, I think I was on 16 or 17. And then for burpees, and then he threw it, and I kind of just looked up and asked him, did you hit it? And he just came to the burpee pit. So I told him one thing though, if you're gonna beat someone that you haven't beat before, like it's gonna feel better if you didn't beat them because of a missed spear. So and then when he started his burpees, then no one else had came to the spear throw on the super yet, so we had created quite a good gap by then, and so I just kind of took off and was pretty smart. Yeah.
No, I watched Brennan's spear throw, and he said to me after, he texted me after, he's like, yeah, it was
dead on.
Good throw. It was dead on. I'm
Yep.
like, you know what?
Was it?
Dead on. It was pretty good, but I told him you gotta have a little more mustard behind that. It was a little soft.
Okay. Yeah, I did not see it, so I have no
I watched
idea,
him.
But I heard he hit the target.
He did hit the target, but that's what I mean. It kind of hit it and then it flopped down and fell out.
Right. Okay. So that does happen to spears, even no matter the targets, right? But
I think he's a little light on it. I told him if he had thrown it harder, he would have had a win and stop complaining.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was a good spear throw spot. You almost had came up that incline back to the festival area, hit a bunch of obstacles like dunk wall, helix, pick up the sandbag. So you're coming through as like, you're pretty taxed, like in a different way. It's kind of like you start feeling that like full body tired, which is just a different feeling than just running into a spear. So first day quite a few people missed it, and that's how Andrew kind of snuck into third. And then the next day, everyone nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys find, like you were just saying, that spear placement at the other races? I found at Blue last year, spear placement was really important because one, you had just come down from like a super fast run, and then it was a throw uphill, and a lot of people missed on that one.
Yes.
That's, I mean, how important do you think it is? Where do you find the hardest spear placement?
If it's actually on a hill, I find that the hardest placement.
Yeah.
Just visually to throw at a target that's like directly in front of you, but you're maybe on like a bit of an angle. I always find that's the most difficult. But I find, yeah, I would say uphill's tough. Like when you're coming uphill and just like you're pretty taxed. Or after a carry, I find like your muscles are a little different. So, but I had practiced that before this. Like I actually feel like I did good work on spear throw practice, which is not always the case. But felt like leading up to this race, I was doing a little more prep work. Yeah, I guess.
Day 2, a little bit different again. You and Brennan going head to head.
Yeah.
And
Brennan, I knew it was like there were no real, other than the spear, maybe Z-wall, there weren't really failable obstacles. Or it didn't seem like the guys that were running were gonna fail anything. So I just kind of was like, I'm not gonna overwork to create a gap because Brendan was running really well. So, and Isaac was jumping into elite. So he almost got the same time as Brendan, and he did the age group wave.
Yeah.
So now that's without a miss spear, but he's going to have the speed to kind of be around us. So I kind of just decided to kind of pace off the like first 2 miles ish or until the spear. And then after that, kind of use the next gap to get a bit, because the last obstacle gauntlet was there was quite a few in a row. It was pretty taxing, but if you're going through them at a decent pace, even if you have 10 seconds on someone, it's really hard for someone to make up that time unless the person's really bad at obstacles. So it was so we just kind of paced it. I tried to like manage my energy like through some of the obstacles. Sometimes you can go harder through obstacles, but or you can just kind of pace yourself through it. So when you come out of it, you can run really well after. So I was trying to kind of stay with Brendan, and then luckily we came out of the sandbag pretty much same time. He just picked the close spear. I went to the far one. He hit his, which was like pretty close to the bottom there, but he got it. And then I wrongfully chose the one that, when you like look back out and you're directly in the sun at that, like, because it's just so early in the morning and it's cresting right there. And so I felt like I was throwing pretty blind at it, but just chucked it. And then after that, there was a nice downhill, kind of caught up, and then just waited a second. And after the rig, just kind of tried to put in a bit of pace work and create a gap and then just hold it.
Yeah, because he actually passed you on the spear throw there.
He did, yeah. And then there's that nice downhill. It's probably, I don't know, I would say it's over 400 meters, like a downhill graduate, like 10%, like minus 10%. And so you can just open up. And I just kind of caught up to him there. And then we went through, there was Atlas and the rig. The rig was just rings. I kind of forgot actually. And the day before, everything was kind of dewy wet just because that area. They weren't as bad the next day, but I started going through, locking off, and then realized there was no swinging bar in the middle. It was just rings, and then kind of changed my technique and started swinging through. But a lot of us actually didn't really look at the rig for the next day. So we all were anticipating like this bar in the middle, and it wasn't, but overall it's still easy.
Yeah. I wish,
yeah.
I know they do the sprint, and I mean, it's dozens of times. I know the sprint is there. This is our entry level, so we don't want to make it too hard. But for the elites and in the age groupers, it's not entry level. It's just a shorter, faster race.
Right.
And, it's okay to make it hard to put in, just leave the regular rig in there and be fine or whatever. But,
Yeah. Agreed. Just have someone there to clip on a few different things. And then once the 25 elites pass, then put on a few rings.
do you think they should have started you guys all at once?
They literally started the women 15 seconds after us. Like, it wasn't.
Why?
Did they have to do their own aroos?
You know what? It was nice because on the Sunday, the MC, who was also playing really good music there, she came on and she was just like, "You guys have heard this before. We're just gonna say 3 aroos and I'm just gonna say go." And she didn't go through any of the things. She was just like, "I can tell you guys want to race. You guys have heard this many times. You know all the rules." And she just went. She just let us go.
She'll probably get fired.
So that was actually really nice. And then I think because it was basically a 200 want to bottleneck it.
Oh, right. With the women.
So the women, they just sent them off. I think honestly it was like 30 seconds after us or less. Like the girls said, it was right after. They just basically told them to step up. They just said the exact same thing and we're gonna go. Yeah. So they were all in the corral with us, and then which wasn't bad for like the smaller heats, and just got them going. So yeah.
Well, it's funny because you say it wasn't a very big heat. I don't know, what was there like? Might lose me again here. It says my internet's unstable, but we'll see. Normally I have killer internet. I have like the best internet going, but this is the second power outage we had tonight, so it's weird. Compared to the other races I've seen, it was about the same size. Like,
yeah, I think like I said, I think it's because of the age group series. Yeah.
I mean, we all called this at the beginning when they said, "Oh, we're going to focus on age group." And I'm great. I mean, like, great. Every mid-range to the backpack elite person is going to drop into age group.
We were talking today though, because Cody actually had the day, and we went and did like a mountain mission today, and he got a little recovery hike with us. Cody was saying, he's like, it's nice because when there's only like 15 guys, everyone kind of, if you're running elite, you're still really competitive and you're still up there. So, when it comes down to, if you're doing a 5K, you don't have to wait that long for everyone to finish. So you're really, everyone is like waiting at the finish line to see like where everyone's finished in like top 10 kind of thing. They want to see like how it unfolded because, we're all that. There's points where you're all close enough where whether you're doing a switchback or like an obstacle to another one backtracked or something, but you see each other out there, and then it's nice to see how it panned out at the end. So he said that was actually a really nice thing where like you're kind of invested from the start line, and then at the finish line, everyone just kind of chatting about how it all unfolded after. So yeah, he said it was good that way. Mm-hmm. He said in China and everything, people finish and they just keep walking through there, get their t-shirt, and no one really like, I think they maybe chat after, but he said the finish line, like everyone's kind of waiting for everyone,
It's also, I think we have a bit more of a tight knit community in a way too. Like, for sure, you'll go to a race anywhere and you kind of know all the elites. Like you'll have up and comers and stuff, but I guess with that smaller group,
I needed Andrew to podium because he was my ride and he wasn't thinking about racing on Sunday, but then he got the podium and I was like, man, you got to come get another one tomorrow. And so he's like feeling good about that and convinced him to come. So yeah.
Was that his first podium?
No, he's podiumed a few. In Kimberly, he did like the sprint and super, and he podiumed at those. And yeah, he's always kind of in the mix. But I mean, he's a pretty good mountain biker, like, but more like a trick mount. Like he can do like double backflips and stuff. And I think like depending on his work schedule, he's in somewhat good shape or like actual racing shape. And so this weekend he was just kind of like, well, we'll just see how it goes. But he's raced enough that he knows what he's doing and he works hard. So yeah. I think a bunch of the guys missed things, and then there were penalty loops on every obstacle except the spear. So sometimes what happened was like someone would fail something and they'd be on the penalty loop and he'd get it and run through and wouldn't think he passed anyone. So when he came in, someone was like, hey, third place coming in, and he didn't even know. He had no idea. He thought he was just so far behind he couldn't see anyone. So yeah, it's kind of cool. The penalty loops were really short. They should have been longer, but adequate distance to make it at least over a minute, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah. Or how long the obstacle would take at least, or
you should
you
be
know,
at least double whatever the obstacle takes.
yeah, like, or to what your fastest purpose could be. And then if you're faster, you're still doing it in about a minute. Like, that makes sense to me.
I still
Yeah.
maintain Spartans should be mandatory completion because the obstacles are not that hard.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
just let
A lot of
try.
people had trouble with that that platform before the vertical cargo.
Mhm.
So it was on the uphill, so you couldn't really
Ugh.
like, I stood up to it and it was up to my ear. So
Wow.
if you're someone that wasn't relying on kind of that pull strength to like get your hips above it, it was really tough for anyone to just like get themselves over. I know for the men, like a bunch of the men, I think like multiple attempted and maybe even some of them failed it.
You got to do that turnaround and that pullover move.
Yeah, we were trying that yesterday. We were trying that on the course preview. I just wanted to try it out. It's a little,
It's
a
sketchy.
little weird, but it's doable for sure.
I've done it tons of times on Irish tables and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Just, you know,
Also, they put their like, you know, that coating they put on Olympus
Yeah.
that makes it really slippery. Like that's on the top of that platform. And so it was wet in the morning. So you really could slip back. I think a lot of people tried it once and realized, oh, I need to actually control myself a little more on this, and then got it the second time. So yeah.
I've done that pullover move a couple of times on warp walls and ninja competition.
Okay. Yeah.
Got halfway through it sometimes and I'm tired and I'm going, oh, this is a bad idea.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like disorienting. And then there's like a little point that if you don't swing properly, then you're just upside down. So
Yeah, I'm like, God, I'm gonna like fall, and there's lots of people watching.
yeah, you have to be pretty confident you can do that to like just go walk up and try it. So yeah.
I still think, and I know it sounds silly, but I still think if they gave Elite their own little medal, a different medal than everything else, more people who are just in that midway zone would run the Elite.
Mm-hmm.
I know,
Mhm.
and it's silly. I know I would give it a shot. I would go for it then too.
Yeah.
Just to say you've done it, you know?
Right. I mean, everyone that's in it, whether, you know, a few of the guys that were in Elite, like they weren't expecting to get top 3, but
Yeah.
they just know that like I train for this hard and I want to race and see how I do. And they still have their own goals, like top 5, top 10, whatever it is. And that's awesome. Like it's good. That's still legit if it's a good field, right? So it's
Yeah.
it's good.
But that's what I mean. It should be, I've said it thousands of times, it should be more of an honor to be dead last in a heat that you had to qualify for
Right.
than to win age group.
Totally.
You know,
And your time's still the same, and you're going to learn way more running and battling against people that actually are going to like challenge you to be better at certain things, and you're not just running away with it or whatever it is. So the only we were saying like age group makes a lot of sense for like really younger, like the younger ages, and then like older ages too. And but I don't know if they're gonna go back on the age group, because I think it's obviously
big money.
yeah, it's good for that group, right? So yeah. Well, I'll still do Elite eventually. There's less people going in. It's funny. It's like there could be a heat of like when the elite heats used to be 300 people.
Yeah.
It was still really a race between 8 people,
Yeah.
you know, for the top spots, let's say. But everyone there wanted to compete hard and do the earlier wave, whatever it was. So yeah, I just think people are thinking about it a little more than normal. And yeah.
Well, I like that it's gated. I like you have to qualify for elite. I think that's
Yeah.
great. But I just think if you qualify for elite, give it a shot.
Yeah,
And so
definitely.
what if you're in the back, right? You're running with the best, right? You're not running age group.
Yeah.
You qualified. You're there. And I mean,
Check your times. Check your times. If you were like close to the top 10,
yeah,
you for sure should be jumping in there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm I'm backing it up. I'm running pro at OCRWC because I qualified for it, right? So I might, well, I'm not Mike. I'm gonna get smoked, but it doesn't matter because I can say I qualified for the pro and I ran in the pro.
For sure. And you can still look at your times filtered by age group after, if you're curious, right?
I truly believe
and you can take a mental note of it, and that's what it should be about, right?
I truly believe OCRWC is probably got the biggest sandbagging problem of any race.
Right.
Like there's like when you have Yuri Force running age group,
right?
Like, that's not right. But anyway,
I guess it was because there was money at the podiums for that.
Yeah.
So, but there's no money in Spartan age group.
No,
unless
but there's
maybe you have
medals.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's some people that's more alluring than 21st in elite.
Well, if someone wants to run elite and would like my medal or plaque or something, I'll give it to you. If you're going to be top 5,
get the triangle.
Those things are always a pain flying home. Like they are. But these ones meant a little bit because I got my last ones taken away from me. So I was like, I needed a little red deer plaque, even though they don't say Red Deer. They're missing. I mean, they'll send those, I guess, later.
You've got a year from now.
Sure, they will.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
How many back there do you got with no name on them, Beth?
Well, just the last one. Because before that, they used to come with it.
Yeah. They would use last year's plaques and then just put new tags on them. I think they're pretty good at it. Yeah.
Apparently that's fallen off a bit.
Okay.
But,
doesn't matter.
You should just, like, when you go on the plane, you should just be like carrying it like this so little kids see it and you go, see mine? Huh?
Yeah. People are like, what is that? And why are you carrying a giant metal thing? Like, it's just like,
and it's super sharp, actually. It's almost
a classic
like a weapon.
thing. Like it's in my carry-on, but the smaller suitcase carry-on, and it goes through that like belt at security, and it's 100% goes through. You can see the guy look at it, sees like this random shape, goes back, looks at it again, goes back, and then just like calls someone over to look at it under the like. It's like happens every single time, and I'm just like, at this point, as I'm putting it through, I'm like, there's 2 metal things that you're going to want to see. Like, I almost just like take them out because it's just something they don't see, and I'm sure they see similar things quite often. So it's one of those things. But it was nice to. And Robert Coble handed me it, and gave me a smile. I was all.
Did you give him a hug? We're friends again.
You know what? It just kind of confirms that he's just like doing his job, and that's all he needs to do. Like, he's not there to, like, I was warming up and he kind of was driving by and on the Saturday, and it was kind of like, oh, I'll say hi to him. You know, he obviously knows who I am. I had a long conversation with him a while ago, and I was kind of jogging, gave him a wave, and just no response, nothing. Like, oh, maybe he's probably forgotten about the whole thing, like whatever it is. But and then anyways, he scared me though, because probably right before the podium thing, he came up and he was like, hey, so we're gonna do podium soon. He was talking to Brendan, and then he was like, he looked at me and he was like, "You were first place guy?" And I said, "Yeah." And then he kind of started saying something, and I just had this like gut feeling. I'm like, "No, like, what?" Because I missed the spear, so there was
Burpees.
burpees, which is always, I'm sure he had sat down with his popcorn and put in slow motion and was just like, let me see. I think it did. I for sure did 31.
How can we fuck this Mick guy over?
Right. Like I was, but yeah, he just kind of scared me a little bit with it, but I don't even think he knew what he was doing. Like he didn't mention it to me once.
No.
Like he wasn't like, hey, glad I didn't have to DQ you this time or anything. It was just like, here's your thing.
I don't think he, and it could be part, like you said, part of the job. He sees so many people and everything, and deals with so many people. Because when I saw him after Red Deer at Blue, and similarly had long conversations with him at Red Deer and
right
debates and like kind of the conversations you don't forget, right? Like
right.
And it was only a couple months before, and then on an obstacle before the race, pretty much complaining to him again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he had no clue who I was.
Right. And it's still right. Yeah. Crazy. And then the rolling mud this time.
Yeah.
Go right through the middle of it. But I get to the top of the hump and the first pit has no water. So I was like, okay, so if I jump like over this, not completely over it, but even if I jump most of it, I went through the direct middle of it, but I still wasn't touching water. And I was like, is this a significant amount?
You should have stopped in the middle and go, Robert, is this okay?
Oh, man. It was, yeah. There's so many things you could have done if it wasn't like a race.
Yeah. I was hoping to see you and Brendan barrel roll down the hill right through the middle.
I had a good comment and laugh on the second day because we were going through it at the same time. We were gonna. I was like, we should hold.
Hold on, you gotta say that again.
Oh, okay, we were going through together, and he kind of made a funny comment like, make sure, like, let's jump in together. It's like he like cannonballed into it this second time. And yeah, so it was just kind of funny, but they actually had the dunk wall in the last one, so you had to get.
I wonder if that was done deliberate, like that actually, no, but it's kind of smart. What a great way to kind of stop
right
dunk wall.
Well, apparently at parts of the day, people were trying to climb over the dunk wall. Like, I guess some people do have kind of like trouble submerging themselves and going under, and it's like a thing that happens with any race. But people are like trying to climb over it, like the floaty thing. So I'm curious if that was like a failable obstacle still.
When you get out there in some of the open waves and you're like, you think these things are all very obvious. But how many people, when we were watching Helix, tried to climb through the center?
Through it, yeah.
Like
really?
Yeah.
At the
like
top,
in
they
the
tried to climb through the top.
Oh, yeah.
Or some people tried to climb over it too.
Yeah. Wow. I guess like you're just coming up to it and you're like, have no idea. Yeah. I don't know if there was a volunteer there, I think. So
Red Deer's been like the backyard for you, right? It's a great spot for you. But the funny thing is you really don't live near Red Deer. I think a lot of people think you're like from Calgary or you're right there or this course, but you're not. You're this is a flight away. Why is this course so good for you?
I think because it's just not on a mountain. So this single track I can actually expose myself to kind of the similar terrain. It was one of the first ones I did. And obviously a lot of the Western elite athletes, I enjoy kind of doing this and racing with them and then going out to the mountains after. So it's an easy one for me to prepare for and to train to the test. So
That's cool. Well, it is a
Yeah.
cool course, and it looked like a lot of fun again. It looked like a great year, and looked like, Spartan seemed to have done a good job.
They did, yeah. And we had a great weekend. It was like, 24 degrees. Start of the race was like 15, kind of sunny, cloudy. It was like everyone hung out at the festival after. Yeah. Yeah. So turned into a really nice weekend. And so yeah. It's always a classic I like to do.
So, in summary, last year you were disqualified and nearly broke your ankle. This year you won and you're
Did
healthy.
break my ankle.
You did break your ankle. Sorry, I couldn't remember if you sprained it or broke it.
Yeah.
And this year you won and you're healthy. So big improvement.
Big improvement. Yeah. Yeah. And the funny thing is I felt better about last year. Like last year, I feel like I raced it
Oh,
well, like really well. Like I feel like I peaked well, which is always kind of, you can never be too sure you can get it exactly right. But obviously, like it went really well. So I had to be happy with how I did it. This year, it felt a little like I definitely, even just warming up, it felt like it didn't feel like I was going to have a great race. It didn't feel like the legs felt heavy. My heart rate was like decently high warming up. I think I had an adventure race the weekend before, and it was like plus 38 that day. And it was just big day out in the heat, multi-sport kind of stuff. And I think I was still tired from that. So I never really felt like my legs were moving very well, but it was enough. And obviously the second day, there was no room to even make time with your legs. So it actually felt like real racing. So that was nice. It's nice to actually be in a race and make strategic moves and have them pay off. Because you don't always have that. Sometimes the gaps form and then you're just kind of racing to finish. So it's nice to get those experiences, because I'm sure Kelowna is going to have way more athletes. So you're going to be potentially around more athletes. So yeah, it's always fun to get that exposure.
yeah. Kelowna is going to be a packed field.
Yeah.
Kelowna.
elite. Yeah, definitely. I wonder what the course it will be like, because like no one's been out there. So it'll be nice.
I think you got to ask Amanda Nadeau.
Right.
Because I think she's right close to there.
I think Sean's going to be living out there for a month, so we can ask him when he gets out there soon.
But Sean won't tell you. It's like, no, I'm keeping this to myself.
Yeah. He'll just be running the same course every day.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, guys, that's all I got. And considering all the technical stuff, it took us a little longer tonight. So sorry for the delay. Grand Valley Power Company. Bad showing. So next for Mick, next is Kelowna.
Correct.
Obviously, Beth, next for you is this weekend, and we are going to go down and crush it as well. Tune in, because we will have live stream of both men's and women's pro wave, and probably on the relay as well, the doubles relay. So tune in. We'll be on YouTube. We'll be posting links. And Athletic Brew, you let me down, so screw you. So we stick with our boys at Duonamic, who are always there to support us, no matter what commercials we do for them.
Right.
So make sure you check out Duonamic. Buy yourself some pull-up systems. Beth, you want to wind it out?
Thanks so much, Mick, for joining us, and congrats again on your double win weekend in Red Deer, and all the best in your training for Kelowna, and we'll see you there.
Great. Yeah, definitely. Have a good weekend, you guys. Go crush DEKA.